Rolling, rolling, rolling like a boulder. Hello and welcome back to the video series dedicated to all the Rolling Stones and Herm's anus. South Africa, that's right, I'm talking about The Challenge Season 32, The Final Reckoning, Episode 18. Now in this episode, we get to finally say bon voyage to the Redemption House, or as some people like to call it, Polly and Natalie's timeshare. But before we get to that, let's start off where last episode left off, and that was Shane and Nelson coming into the Redemption House after getting last place in last week's Purge Challenge, where Kaylee's like, hey, have you and Natalie been doing the hankety-pankety grindity-windity? And Nelson was like, deny till I die, and Kaylee was basically saying, I can't be mad at you, boo. TJ comes in and says that there is a double cross ceremony. Now this double cross is going to be a little bit different. Instead of one team picking a team after getting the double cross and picking a team to go up against in elimination to fight their way back into the house, this one is going to be a 4 Horsemen Armageddon, meaning all 4 teams are going to get to fight their way back into the house. However, whoever picks the double cross will get to choose which team they want to go up against, and then that will decide the rest of the matchups. So Brad and Kyle get the double cross, and they choose Kaylee and Cam to go up against, meaning they give us the people what we want to see, and that is Shane and Nelson versus Bananas and Tony. But before we can get to that, round 1 is going to be Brad and Kyle versus Kaylee and Cam, and they have this mathematical puzzle that they have to solve. And that is this giant board with all these holes, and each team has a group of pegs, and all these pegs have numerical values. The blue are for addition, red is for subtraction, and they have to use 16 pegs to make their way up the board and ring the bell. However, the whole board has to equal up to 32. Now, each team had their own strategies going into this. Cam decides to be the mathematician and the peg holder, while as Kaylee is going to be putting the pegs in and climbing up. Whereas Brad, the accountant, and the teacher, aka good with numbers, decides to be the climber slash builder, giving Kyle, who he says did not go to college, which we are all not surprised on hearing that, he is in the back with the best vantage point and all the pegs, meaning he's going to have to be the mathematician. This is not a good strategy. As you can see from this episode, Kaylee and Cam kill it, aka their names, Killer Kaylee and Killer Cam, kill this competition, kill Brad and Kyle's hopes of getting $1 million as they win this easily, like almost too easy. So now it's time for round 2, the moment we've all been waiting for. And this is a physical challenge for Bananas and Tony versus Shane and Nelson. And this is basically a battering ram. Each team is going to be holding a side of a battering ram, and they have to manipulate their way, push their way, bulldoze their way into getting the other team out of the circle or touching the rope, which is the outer corners of the circle. And whoever can do that best 3 out of 5 wins their way back into the house. Now, before going into this, Shane was a little apprehensive about this. He likes more of the puzzles. He feels like he has the upper hand, which he probably does against Bananas and Tony. So going into this, I think he already was like, oh, I'm not doing so good. Which is not a good way. If you're Nelson, you're thinking, come on, man, get your head in the game. And you think, this is going to be fun. This is going to be like Joss versus Derek in last season's Elimination. But you'd be wrong, because Bananas and Tony destroy this. Like, they score like twice easily, and then the last one was a little bit kind of like a push. But come on, guys, this was like, no, this wasn't even a competition. Bananas and Tony win their way back in. Shane and Nelson are on their way to the airport with Brad and Kyle, and it's basically over for them. So now, before we can even figure out what just happened or get our breath, we are back at another challenge, where this challenge is basically every team has this giant boulder that they have to, as a team, push down this ravine and to the other side. Basically, they're going down the hill, over a ditch, and uphill, and then they have to hit a finish line. The first team to win this gets an advantage in the next challenge, where the team that gets last place is out of here. That's right. The Redemption House is gone, and now whoever loses this is gone as well. So Paulie and Natalie won the last challenge, so they get an advantage of 10-second head start, which doesn't help once everybody gets to that ravine or ditch, because everybody just clumps together. And Johnny and Tony find a different way, get their boulder out of it first. However, they are just gassed. Tony, if you remember Chance vs. the Stars the last Chance vs. the Stars, he had that dad bod. He's in a better shape, but he is not doing cardio, and neither is Johnny. And it's no surprise that Joss and Sylvia are just legging it. I mean, if you remember last season, the first episode, Joss was making the Rock Gibraltar look like it was the steps that Rocky was doing. Like, it was nothing to him. I don't even think he broke a sweat, the Hercules Adonis man of him. Well, they get the first place, they get the advantage, followed by Paulie and Natalie, followed by Johnny and Tony, followed by Hunter and Ashley, and then Cara and Marie. That means, yes, sadly, Kaylee and Cam, who just came back into this house, is just now leaving, and there's no redemption house to save them. But they finished out strong. They did a good job, and we will see them again in another season. I will say for sure. They really killed it in those eliminations, but this one just caught up with them, and that's where this episode ends. So before we end this episode, I want to ask you, what do you think about this episode? What do you think about all these eliminations? There was 3 eliminations. That's crazy. What do you think about the Redemption House overall? Do you like it, or do you think they should just get rid of it? If you are taken out of this competition, you're out for a reason. There's no takebacks or comebacks. Leave it in the comment section below if you think differently or if you think that way. What do you think about Bananas and Tony winning it? It was kind of on them for getting that physical challenge. Do you think if they went up against Shane and Nelson in the peg math puzzle, do you think it would have been different, or do you think they still would have won? Or if you're thinking, why am I thinking of hypotheticals? It didn't work that way. Who cares? Leave that in the comment section below. Are you sad to see Kaylee and Cam gone? Are you sad to see Brad and Kyle? I can't get through it. Are you sad to see Kaylee and Cam gone? Leave it in the comment section below. We are in the final 5, I believe. Who are you going for? Who do you think wins? Who do you want to win? Leave it any and all comments down below. I want to hear what you have to say. I'm so excited. We are almost there, guys. The final is like right across the way. I can see it. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be so much fun to watch, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say, and I can't wait to watch the rest of this season. But that's it for me. I'll see y'all next week. Bye.